Okay, so let's get into part 3, instance management. In RAC environment, and there are multiple instances as an access point to Oracle database. And you can manage RAC instances using SQL+, and also using SRV-CTA utility, and also using Enterprise Manager. Personally, I prefer, my preference is SRV-CTL, because you can start up instance with the flexible options. And if you control instances using SQL+, you have to change the Oracle seed, and you have to get into the location where instance is running to control. So the command must be executed. And also, when you start a RAC database instance, you can actually start all instances of a database simultaneously, or you can only start in a selected instance using SRV-CTL or Enterprise Manager, or using SQL+. And in the single instance database, what is the meaning of a shutdown transactional. In the single instance database, when you issue shutdown transactional command, and we wait until our active transaction is complete, and then shut down database instance. But if you run same shutdown transactional command in RAC environment, we have to wait for active transactions across instances. So it will take a long time to shut down database instance. So if your intention is only wait for active transactions of the connected database instance, then you will have to add a local option. Okay, shutdown transactional local. And you can also shut down database. You can also shut down database, meaning that you can shutting down all instances of a database. And this is an example of stopping and starting RAC database instances using SRV-CTL. You have SRV-CTL and start and stop instance and database option. And also, you can add a start option and stop option as well, just like this example. Start option, and stop option. And also in the example, this is to start ORCL1, ORCL2 instances of ORCL database. And you can also stop 2 instances. And you can start database up to mount state. And you can also start database instance in a specific node. And this example, last example, is an example of a RAC 1 node example. So with a RAC 1 node, you keep only a single active instance, and you can specify where to start RAC 1 node instance. So you can specify host information and node information. And this is an example of a controlling RAC instance with a SQL+. Once you get into host, and you have to change Oracle seed, and you log in as a sysdba to shut down and start up. And if you want to manage a second instance, you have to connect to host 02 and change the Oracle seed, and you control RAC instance. And starting and stopping pluggable databases in Oracle RAC. Manage RAC PDBs by managing services regardless whether they are policy or administrator managed. Assign one database service to each PDB, coordinate start and stop and placement of a PDB across instances. And this is an example of the adding new service for PDB. Service name in this example is PLUG, and it is to connect to Spark PDB database. I didn't cover multi-tenant database yet, but for your information, multi-tenant container database is database consolidation solution. And this database consists of SP file to start database normal to state, control file to mount your database, and also online redo logo files. And up to this point, it's the same as the standard architecture. And the only difference is data files. And your data files, logically table spaces, are grouped together at the container level. Container is a group of table spaces. So by default, there is a root container that keeps system table space, undo table space, and sysocs table space, and so on. And also, there are one or more user containers as well. And user containers are called pluggable databases. When you start up database instance with a multi-tenant architecture, SP file is scanned to start your database normal to state, and then read open control file to mount your database, and also open control file, open online redo logo file, and open data files that belong to root container. So only system data files are available. Now, if you wanna start pluggable databases automatically at instance startup time, one option is you create non-default PDB service. So Clusterware will attempt to start required resource to start database service. So in this example, when you start database instance, and in this PDB, we created a plug service, and Clusterware will check status of a required resource, which means the database in this example, PDB. If a PDB is not open, to start plug service, Clusterware will automatically start PDB database, and then make plug service available. And we will get into this area in one of our lessons. We have one lesson about multi-tenant architecture in RAC environment. You can also start and stop service using srvctl start and stop command. And also, we can get database configuration information. srvctl configure database -all, show me all information. And let's take a look at one by one. So here, this is my database name, DB unique name. And this is my DB name, Oracle database home, and Oracle home owner, SP file. As you can see, my SP file location is shared location. And also password file is in the shared location. When you run srvctl to start database, and always open option is default. When you stop database, shutdown immediate is the default option. And ORCL database is a primary database. And management policy is automatic, meaning that when you restart Clusterware, Clusterware will restore your database status as is. For example, before stopping Clusterware, your database was a shutdown state, okay, on purpose. Next time when you restart Clusterware, your database will be shutdown state as is. And also, your database was up and running, and you restarted the Clusterware, and Clusterware will remember the previous database status, and if this was open, then when you restart Clusterware, your database will be started automatically. And if you want to manage a database manually on purpose as part of a maintenance purpose, then you can set it to manual as well. And this slide is giving you RAC init parameter file. We had a discussion. P file is stored in the local storage, and P file is used as a pointer to SP file in the shared storage. Okay, so that is a best practice. It doesn't mean that that's the only option, but that's a recommended option. And just like in a single instance database, by issuing alter system set command, you can change various parameters, either at memory level or with the scope equals to memory. But difference is, you will have to add SID information. If you want to apply certain parameter settings specific to instance, then you will have to add SID, SID, SID. Where do you want to apply these parameter settings? So you add SID to specify where to apply changes to. That's what you have to add. And you can also manage and view SP file parameter values from Enterprise Manager. So in the init parameter location, you have various parameters. So you have in a search engine, you enter a keyword to display changes, to display parameters based on that keyword. And also, we have the cluster keyword, and it will show you all cluster-related parameters. And certain parameters can be modified, and certain parameters cannot be modified. And we also have a list of parameters here. And there are parameters that require identical setting. So these are all parameters that must be identical, meaning that in your init file, you will have to asterisk and parameter equals to value. So these parameters must be applicable to all instances. Compatible must be identical. Cluster database, do you want to enable clustering of instances? Yes or no? And control file, block size, and DB domain, and number of data files, DB name, and faster recovery area, and its size, and these all must be same. And also instance type, and parallel execution message size, and authentication method with the password file, undo management, and all these parameters must be same. However, and these parameters must be unique. So for these parameters, you will have to add specific value. For example, I have ORCL1 dot ORCL2 dot. Okay, instance name must be unique. Instance number must be unique, and undo table space must be different. So you can activate one undo table space per instance, and your cluster interconnect must be unique, and rollback segment must be unique if you are using rollback segment. So these are parameters that must be unique. Okay, so up to this point is instance management. We learned that how to start RAC instances, what is the meaning of starting RAC instances, what is the meaning of shutting down RAC instances, and also what would be a nice tool to control instance startup and instance shutdown, how you configure RAC instances, what other parameters must be unique, and what are the parameters that must be unique for instance management. And this is a part 3.